Good morning. I thought this would be a great opportunity as I'm driving to just get some thoughts out of my head, and hopefully this will be beneficial to our listeners. But yesterday I had a very interesting experience. There was a uncomfortable conversation that had to be had, and didn't really know which direction it was going to go, and it basically could have ended with me, a friend telling me, hey man, this is just what I'm going to do, and it's the direction I'm going to go, so I'm not really concerned about your feelings on that or your thoughts on that. Or it could have ended with me potentially doing the same thing and agreeing to disagree, and losing a friend over really what it boils down to business and money and a different perception and different perspectives on the ideas of doing business. But what ended up happening is it took a little bit of courage to make the phone call. It was a decision. It was intentional. And this individual and I had an amazing conversation that ended up growing me and edifying me in an amazing way. Actually answered one of the business questions that was completely unrelated, but something that I was thinking about. He gave me a very unique perspective that really shaped my thoughts on some other questions that have been coming up with Stu and I with our business. But it also gave an opportunity for us to fellowship and to just have a frank conversation and an honest conversation about our perspectives. And then it also helped us each to see where we may have had misperceptions as well, had some misperceptions about each other, and because of the fact that we just simply didn't talk to one another. So my only point to this video is do not be passive aggressive. Do not allow uncomfort to hinder a conversation that you may have, and be direct, be frank, be honest. And I think that you will find that there's huge blessing in that, and you also may not only save a relationship, but you may grow a relationship, and it will absolutely shift whatever internal thoughts, whatever internal words you're telling yourself about others and about yourself. And I think that there's always a benefit to addressing issues head on, despite our desire and our human nature to avoid conflict and avoid hard conversations. I have found, I do not shy away from hard conversations. I kind of enjoy them. But what I have found is almost 100% of the time, those hard conversations yield beautiful fruit and usually grow a relationship. So it's just my thought for today. What's up, folks? Back again. Just a continuation of our earlier conversation about not making assumptions, being comfortable in discomfort, and having hard conversations. And we have a guest speaker in my personal thoughts today.
Guest speaker,
Stuart Grazier, everybody. Round of applause.
Yeah, man, it's interesting that we started talking about this situation, and our personalities are very different. I'm one that just really is non-confrontational. And I would feel very challenged to have a conversation, a hard conversation, and I'd be the one that just chooses not to have that conversation, chooses to be passive aggressive, and in this situation, that probably could have been detrimental to a relationship. Making a lot of assumptions, going the passive aggressive route probably would have caused a lot of issues in many different groups, relationships, investing. So thinking about how to handle these type of situations is key. And like David said earlier, the decision to be courageous and confront the issue. Either way, a decision is going to be made from it, and it could be bad, or it could turn out really good. And I think it turned out really good in this situation.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that, Stu, and for just your honesty. I think a lot of us, especially us military types, us leaders, don't want to ever admit that we may potentially approach something passively or passive aggressive or any of those ways. So I appreciate that. But I also, I think that one of the big takeaways for both of us is that the intentionality of making decisions, having conversations, is something that's very important. And a conclusion will be drawn, a course of action will be taken, and if it's not intentional, then you're being very reactionary and leaving the decisions potentially or the course of a relationship in somebody else's hands. And I would just encourage everybody to, as we always say, take action, be intentional, and that includes with your relationships, with your conversations. And there's always going to be a narrative, and it just depends on, are you the recipient of that narrative, or are you the one choosing the path of that narrative and choosing the direction it goes. And you can't ever anticipate somebody else's reaction, but it's like the age-old question: if you never ask, the answer is always no. So if you have the conversation, you have no idea which way to go, but most likely people appreciate your honesty, your respect for them, and you honoring them to pick up the phone or do a Zoom and just make sure you're on the same page. If you're on the same page, hey, you had a great conversation with a wonderful individual, and maybe that makes the relationship grow. So I think this is all good. Thank you, Stuart, for being in my brain.
Yeah, man, one more thought. We actually had a really good conversation with our buddy Russell the other day on this situation. And he made another really good point about either you could choose to be reactionary or you can choose to be responsive. And both outcomes could be the exact same or not. But reactionary is rarely a better course. If you think on it, don't react when you're angry, and instead respond with a proper answer. I think you're going to get a better outcome every time.
100%. And I'd be remiss if you are on the YouTubes. I would be remiss to not show you this amazing location, Garden of the Gods, where Stuart and I are having our deep thoughts in God's amazing creation. Look at that beautiful scenery, some snow on the ground, and some handsome dudes. Well, a handsome dude.
A more handsome dude.
And his friend. Thank you for listening.